What is going on, all you Pokemon collecting maniacs out there? This is Ryan, the Pika Papa, and today we are going to have a ton of fun. I promise you that. This video is actually 27 months in the making because 27 long months ago, I sat down in front of my computer with my Excel spreadsheets, and I decided that I was going to create my own Pokemon index funds. Now, a lot of companies have tried to do this in the past. You could buy fractional shares of big cards or sealed products, etc., etc. But really what I was trying to do was create true baskets of Pokemon cards or top 20 cards from particular sets or groups of sealed product that back then, again, 27 months ago, I felt had a great opportunity for long-term price appreciation. And as I was sitting there, I was looking at my Pokemon closet, how it was getting fuller and fuller by the day. And I was thinking about not everybody has as much room as I have. Not everybody wants to go out and spend $5,000 on a big chase card. Like some people want to spread out the risk. Like there were all kinds of reasons that I put this together and I thought it would be a fun exercise. And I'll tell you this, I did not treat it like true index funds ever since. So in order to be a true index fund, if we were doing something on the top 20 singles cards of a set, as a card fell out, you would have to sell that card, you would have to buy the new card that's in the top 20. We didn't do that, but we got something even better out of this. What I got out of this, and you'll see throughout the course of this video, is that because of the power of time, even when we got it wrong in the beginning, even when we picked a set or a group of cards that weren't that wonderful for the first year or 2 years, almost all of these are absolutely killing it now 27 months later. Now, obviously, we're in the middle of a very, very bull market here in the Pokemon space, but still, it's just a ton of fun to say this. I am a long-term collector. I've said that a million times over. I don't buy and flip. I don't grade and flip. I don't do anything like that. I don't know when I'm going to sell. Who knows? Maybe I'll pass this on to my kids someday, but this video is just going to show you the power of kind of having some fortitude and sitting down and sticking with it over the long run. Now, what are we going to be looking at today? Before we get into it, I got to tell you, we're going to be looking at this Charizard Ultimate set, which features the biggest and the baddest Charizards all in PSA holders. It's going to be really cool to look at. The thing has absolutely crushed it. We're going to look at Sword and Shield booster boxes. Back then, I aggregated the 12 booster boxes. We'll see how those are performed. I actually did Japanese booster boxes too, just for fun. Booster boxes from the Japanese space from 2021 and 2022. We're going to be looking at Pokemon Center ETBs, which have gone absolutely insane. Yes, 27 months ago, I was a big believer in Pokemon Center exclusive ETBs, and it has paid dividends for me. I'll talk to you about that more in the future. And then Lost Origin, right? The top 20 cards from the Lost Origin set. I was a huge fan of Lost Origin then. I still am now. So we'll see how those cards have performed. Roaring Skies. Back then, 27 months ago, nobody was paying attention to XY. Matter of fact, most people were telling me why XY was never going to do anything. I was a huge fan of Roaring Skies, so we have that one as well. Celebrations is on here too. Talk about one that we missed early on, but is now starting to bear fruit. Top 20 cards from Celebrations is on here. And we're going to look at the top Japanese Pikachu cards because we're going to look at the top Charizards here in English. Japanese has so many really, really cool Pikachu cards. I thought it would be cool to include that as well. So we have a ton of different indexes we're going to look at, lots of data, lots of fun, and if you get into this and you enjoy it as much as I do and you're having a blast along the way, hit the subscribe button or give us a thumbs up. Those two small things go a really long way in helping my small channel out, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. So with that out of the way, we're going to start with the Charizard Ultimate Index, and this is a really, really cool thing to look at. So 27 months ago, these were the cards that I decided to put on the list, and I kind of have the definition of why. So I went to the 15 highest valued English Charizards back then, according to Pokedata.io. And because this is about long-term investing and long-term price appreciation, I said I want them to be graded by PSA. But I put a couple rules in there when I built this list out, okay? So if one of the cards was graded in a PSA 10 and the value was over $10,000, I defaulted down to a PSA 9 because some of these cards, like a Charizard base set first edition, you know, in a PSA 10, that would totally skew the index. There would be too much weight into that individual card unless you started slicing and dicing things. So I just did away with that and put it on a PSA 9. I love doing that. The other thing that I did was I said the population of the cards at that point had to be higher than 200. We know the cards with super low pop. They don't sell very often. They have wild price swings. So I wanted to make sure that the cards in this Charizard index were approachable from a pricing perspective. We didn't have one that was way outvalued versus the others. And I wanted to make sure the population was at least 200. And this is what we started off with. So if you're fascinated to see where we are today, I'm not going to keep you waiting any longer. This is where we're at right now, and as you can see, over the last 27 months, this Charizard Ultimate Index, as far as I'm concerned, has performed really, really well. Again, the whole thing is up 86% over 27 months. That is absolutely wild in terms of rate of appreciation. There are people on Wall Street who would literally, they would do anything in the world to get these types of returns over a 27-month period, and these Charizards had performed great. Now, not all the same. We have some that have outperformed compared to others. I mean, when you look at the Charizard Secret from Plasma Storm, that's up 135%. When you look at the Gold Star, Gold Stars have been getting a ton of attention. So the Charizard Gold Star from Dragon Frontier, that bad boy's up 266%. Now, don't sleep on the first edition too. It's up 80% over the same time frame. That PSA 9 back then was going for just over 16,000. Now it's just shy of 29,000 for a PSA 9 first edition Charizard from that awesome, awesome base set that we all have. And you can see there's some, I mean, the lowest one right here is the reverse holo from Skyridge, which is actually one of my favorite cards. That's one of the ones that I'm trying to save up for in the long run. I'd love to buy it. I think it's a stunner. That one, I hate to say this, is only up 31%. And then the Secret Shining one from Neo Destiny, not the first edition. The first edition one is up 62%, but just the regular Secret Shining from the regular Neo Destiny set, that one's up 13%, but that goes to illustrate one of the points that I always talk about. Like, if you have the option, always get the first edition. And that sounds like, well, duh, I would do that. But even if you have to wait longer, even if you have to save more nickels, always get the first edition. Always get the stamped promo. Like, it will always outperform. It's just proven time and time again. And we see that again here on the Charizard Ultimate Index. So this one is a ton of fun to watch. And actually, as crazy as this is to say, I still think a lot of these cards are undervalued compared to where they're going to be in the next 10, 15, 20 years. I think it's some point we will have a major shift in these early Pokemon cards, and I think a lot of money is going to pour into them at some point, but still can't shake a fist at 86% growth over 27 months. Next one we're going to talk about right here is Roaring Skies. Yes, I was a voice of one 27 months ago. There were a lot of cards in the XY era that I really thought were undervalued. Roaring Skies was absolutely one of them. And if you look at the change in price column over there, you can see that some of these cards are up 400, 300, 130, 140%. They've just absolutely crushed it as of late. The other thing that's interesting too is I have the cards listed in the order that they were in terms of top 20 cards back then. But then on the right-hand side, I have the new ranking. I went ahead and added that in. I thought it would be fun just as a little value prop here. And you can see that even though Roaring Skies 27 months ago was a very established set with obviously years and years of existence behind it, yet even with that, you can still see how those top 20 have really fluctuated in terms of where they've moved. Now, a couple cards that I thought would be easy to point out here and a lot of fun. When you look at the Ray and you look at the Latios right there, these cards were sub $15 27 months ago. Obviously, they have popped off, but when I'm talking about finding undervalued cards, I've been doing some content on Sword and Shield. I've been doing some content on Scarlet and Violet. Like, these are the names that I'm looking for. I'm looking for some of these big names that come from awesome sets like this, that have some really cool artwork like you see right here. Like, those are the things that you're looking for. It doesn't mean that these prices are going to spike in the short run. It took a year plus. It actually took longer than that. It took over a year and a half for the XY era to finally start to appreciate in price. This is one of the ones when I did videos back in the day, Roaring Skies Index just wasn't moving much, but guess what? It caught fire, and now it is up 206% over the last 27 months. That is just absolutely wild to think about. So really cool example here, of identifying some opportunities early on, sticking with it, and then it pays dividends in the long run. Next one we're going to talk about here while we're talking about top 20 in different sets is Lost Origin. And Lost Origin, remember, 27 months ago, it was still, I mean, it wasn't brand new, but it was still a relatively new set. Lost Origin was still in rotation. You had some cards that were on here that were due to playability. That's why their prices were what they were. I mean, if you look over on the new ranking column, you see a bunch of these have just absolutely fallen out of favor. Clarissa Experiment there is down to number 44. Lost Vacuum is down to number 57. Like, it just goes on and on and on. But even if you did this, even if you went ahead and you bought all of these cards at the exact wrong time, even though some of them were driven by playability, still over the last 2 years, you would be up 20%. And I want you to see some of the cards that weren't even included in this. Like, look at Lost Origin. Think about how wonderful the set is. These top 20 cards didn't even include three of the coolest cards from the whole set. They weren't even on the top 20 list back then. This Pikachu, the Charizard, the Gengar card, like these trainer gallery cards are absolutely fire. But for the longest time, they were $3 cards, $4 cards. Nobody was paying attention to them. I have 7 of those Gengars in PSA 10 holders because I'm a huge Gengar fan and I absolutely love the artwork. Like, again, another great example of, even though the market didn't love it back then, if you buy it, if you hold on to it, if you believe in it, like there can be some huge upsides in the long run. So really cool story here with Lost Origin. A great example of when you buy everything incorrectly, not everything, almost everything incorrectly here, you still eked out a 20% gain over just over 2 years, which is pretty solid. Next one we're talking about right here, top 20 Sword and Shield alt arts. And when you look at where some of these prices were back then, it really is crazy. The Moonbryon was going for $627 27 months ago. And when you look at where the growth came from, that was interesting for me too. A lot of the growth came from Evolving Skies, but it didn't come from the Umbreon. Although Umbreon's up 115%, you can't argue with the Moonbryon, but that's actually number 7 in terms of total growth. You look at a lot of these other cards, the Sylveon did really good, the Leafeon did really good, the Umbreon V, the Alt Art V from Evolving Skies, like that one's up 150%. It is really cool to see these solid cards outside of the top 2 that have delivered really solid gains. And again, when we're looking at some of these sets from the Scarlet and Violet era, you want a big name set, right? You want the Fusion Strikes, you want the future Lost Origins, you want the future Evolving Skies, if we can come up with whatever that is. Like, it doesn't have to be the number 1 and number 2 card. You can still find great value and some big upside potential as well. Now, the card that took the king here, that's going to be my boy Gengar, of course, from Fusion Strike. That card is actually up 203% over this time frame. Started off at $202. It's all the way up to $613. I think it's going to continue to grow. I think these numbers are going to change, but really what I wanted to do for these Sword and Shield was I wanted to pull them and do this video before we have our next upswing. Like, I wanted to pull this and look at these numbers after we've had 4 to 5 months of price regression, which if you watch my video on Sword and Shield where we highlight how they move month over month, you know the last 5 months have been very, very rough. Even with 5 consecutive months of prices coming down, you would still be up 97% if you had bought all of these cards 27 months ago. Plus, you would have one heck of a collection, absolutely stunning artwork, hard to go wrong with any of that. Really cool. Almost up 100% over the last 27 months, even though they've been getting their tails kicked for the last 5. Very, very cool stuff. Next one on the list right here is the Sword and Shield Booster Box Index. And this is where things get absolutely insane. It is wild. Now, Fusion Strike, not Evolving Skies, from a percentage standpoint, gave you the biggest gain over the last 27 months. And that's because a little over 2 years ago, Fusion Strike booster boxes were going for below MSRP. They're going for $142.51 when I recorded this information. And now, obviously, it's going for $819. So you're up 475%. Evolving Skies back then was at $387 a booster box. $387. My God, don't you wish you had a time machine? We could go back and buy every single Evolving Skies booster box we could at $387, because it's now going for just shy of $2,200, giving you a return of 466%. And all of these have done really well. I think the lowest performer out of all of this is Rebel Clash, which is up 57%. But again, you're talking about a little over 2 years. Incredible growth there. Sword and Shield base set, a little womp womp there, but the prices for Rebel Clash and Sword and Shield started so much higher. Back then, you're buying Chilling Reign, you're buying Fusion Strike, Silver Tempest, you're buying Brilliant Stars, you're buying all of these below MSRP, but Rebel Clash and Sword and Shield were way over that at that point in time. So you had a lower jumping off point for some of the newer banger sets and a higher one for those. But again, just really strong returns. This total group right here, again, over the last 27 months is up 215%. It is just wild to see the way booster boxes have been performing. Do I think they're going to continue at this same rate of return? Probably not, but they definitely could. If you think about what Sun and Moon is doing right now, I did a video the other day I shared with you. 7 Sun and Moon booster boxes are now over $1,000. 3 of those 7 are over $2,000. Sword and Shield has some epic sets and some epic cards, so I certainly think that there's a high ceiling for a lot of these. Next one on the list, Pokemon Center exclusive Elite Trainer Boxes. Yes, 27 months ago, I was just as big of a fan of them as I was now. I was buying up all of them that I possibly could. I was buying Sword and Shield era ones. And when Scarlet and Violet came out, I literally drew a line in the sand and I said, this is it for me. I am buying multiple cases of Pokemon Center exclusive ETBs for every single set that comes out. I believe that they were truly going to be exclusive. They had the stamp promos, yada, 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 for all of those reasons. And I've got to tell you, I mean, when I look at my collector app, sometimes it just, I don't know, it boggles my mind to see how much some of these have appreciated. Once per year, I share with you my entire value of my collection, which I will do at the end of the year, just like I did at the end of last year. But I can tell you that a ton of my growth has come for this, because people who are just in the hobby now, or who've only been in here in the last 6 months, forget that there was a period of time where it was very easy to get Pokemon Center exclusive Elite Trainer boxes. You didn't have like a 1 year or a 6 month window or anything like that, but if you wanted to get them, you did not have to fight and knife and crawl and hope that you got through the queue. There was no queue back then. Just on launch day when they came out, you bought them. If you wanted multiple cases, you bought multiple cases. If 3 days later you wanted to buy more, you could still buy more. So sets like, you know, Paldea Evolve, sets like Obsidian Flame, sets like Scarlet Violet, both the red and the purple version. Like, I have multiple cases of them simply because I believed in them early on. And obviously, as you can see, they've absolutely crushed it. So for the newer ones, I just assumed you bought one at MSRP. You were able to get it at $59.99. And then obviously the new prices, and you can see this whole group here up 240% collectively. Now, it's a little harder because some of these were purchased later on. This is an ever-growing, ever-evolving list. But the net of this is Pokemon Center exclusive ETBs have just absolutely, as far as I'm concerned, been like the investment vehicle, at least of the last 10 years. It's just been wild to watch these things grow. Next thing that we're talking about right here is the Japanese Pikachu Master Set. This was a ton of fun. My wife is a huge fan of all of these cards. I don't know, I need to get a better job or something so that I can hopefully someday afford them for her. But it is wild to see how these prices have moved. And as you can see, really, really strong gains. I mean, overall, the total value is up 123%. I had wondered back then, like, how long are these Poncho Pikachus going to be able to hold their water? How long are they going to be able to continue to, you know, go for, you know, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 in some cases? That Mario Pikachu is now over $12,500. The 20th anniversary Fiesta one is at $15,000. Like, these cards are stunning. Obviously, everybody wants them all over the world, not just in Japan. It's driving a ton of demand, and as you can see, some really, really strong returns here. So couldn't leave my man Pikachu off the list, coming in up 123% over the last 27 months. Now, next one that we're talking about right here is the booster boxes as well, and I thought this would be a ton of fun to do this, but when you look at it outside of the top 20 from Lost Origin, Japanese booster boxes came in second to last place with a total change in price over the last 27 months of 48%. I am very honest. I'm very transparent. Japanese collecting is not my thing. I don't know much about the booster boxes. I don't know much about the cards outside of those big bangers that we were just talking about. But it certainly seems like when you look at how the Sword and Shield booster boxes have grown and you compare the Japanese booster boxes that were released in the years 2021 and 2022, you still have some relatively decent growth top to bottom, and 48% over 27 months is still a very, very strong rate of return. Let's not forget that. But a lot of the love has been going to these English variants. So it's been really, really cool to watch these. And maybe it'll shift. Maybe at some point the Japanese booster boxes will become more in favor. The market can be very cyclical, and maybe these things will start crushing it here in the relatively near future. And then the final one that's on the list was the Celebrations Index. And this was one where, you know, the last couple times I've updated this and done a video for you guys, it was a big miss. Matter of fact, there was one where we were a couple years down, or a year and a half down the road, and it had actually gone down in value. However, what we're seeing here recently is we're seeing a lot of these cards really appreciate in value here. So it just goes to show you, if you were a big believer in Celebrations then, if you're able to buy the cards and stick with them, hold your water, not sell, even though they didn't do much for a long period of time, you're starting to reap some rewards now. Overall, the whole group is up 92%, and we see some really, really strong performers, you know, from that Umbreon star that they have up there. The Charizard, you know, is not up that much versus where it started. It's up 35%. Birthday Pikachu is absolutely crushing it in terms of rate of return, right? It started off as a $5 card. It's knocking at the door of 20 bucks right now. So the Blastoise is up 89%. And then when you look down there, the Zekrom, Reshiram, right? Like, those cards are up significantly because what's happened, Black Bolt and White Flare has come out. One is up 573%. The other's up 618%. So really cool lessons. Tons of fun for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this as much as I do. I think the last time I did a video updating this was actually in October of last year. So I will try not to let it go so far. Maybe I'll set a calendar reminder and try and do this every 6 months. If you find value in it, I'll be able to tell if you give me likes, if you give me thumbs up, and if you drop comments down below. If you say you want more, I'll always provide more for you because you're the reason I do this. So I hope you have an epic day. If you enjoyed it, hit those buttons, and I will talk to you later. You guys have a great one. See you, everybody. Bye.